This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, whatever time it is with you and wherever you are. Thank you for downloading this SmackDown review as part of the WWE podcast. As always, it's an absolute pleasure to have you listening along. I am Amanda, your host of this SmackDown review. And just a reminder that I am back on X and I am at Amanda SD Review. Give me a follow, drop me a message. I love hearing from you guys in the week. Let's talk WWE. Now I'm starting this week's show the way I want to, because it's my show. And I want to say a huge well done to the Lionesses winning back-to-back European Championships. What a heroic effort. One of the team played the whole tournament with a fractured tibia. What a warrior. I have to say, if I stub my toe, I quite often take a week off the gym. So respect to her. And my last word on the Lionesses is Captain Fantastic, Leah Williamson, who is from about 10 minutes away from where I am. Best England captain ever. Fact. Okay, so now I had my little statement about the Lionesses, so let's get on to some wrestling. And let's start off by talking about WWE Unreal. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm 3 or 4 episodes in, and I have to say, I'm absolutely loving it. It's a peek, but only a peek behind the curtain. I don't think it spoils anything, but it definitely shows us the sheer complexity of each and every live show and all the moving parts. Wow. Some highlights so far for me, the Chelsea Green stuff, the very graphic footage of her breaking her arm twice, which was a bit much for me. I had to look away. Charlotte and her injury again made me absolutely soften to her. And Cena with those Make-A-Wish kids. And I don't know about your house, but my house seemed to get a bit dusty and I got some things in my eyes around that part. Steph getting thrown into the ICC spit at the Rumble last minute, just getting some really vague instructions from Triple H. Just goes to show what an utter pro Steph is. I love it, and I'd love to know what you guys all think of it so far, however far you are into that series. But so far from me, I think it's brilliant, and if it's genuine and real, then that's awesome. If it's not, and it's all part of the bigger WWE story, then, well, that's even more clever, so I'm okay with it. So before we get into into SmackDown, let's do some quick select SummerSlam predictions. Obviously, we've had Matt's show drop already on what he thinks the direction of SummerSlam matches are going to be. So here's my very quick take. So in no particular order, I've got Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew and Logan Paul. For me, I've got a win for Jelly and Randy. Drew turns on Paul and starts a program between those two. That's how I think that one will play out. The women's tag champs, so we've got the Judgment Day, Raquel and Roxanne versus Charlotte Flair and Bliss. I've got a win here for Bliss and Flair. This non-friendship thing is an absolute beaut of an angle. Seeing Charlotte as part of a tag team and working with Bliss, as I said last week, has done her just so many favours, and she's now back over, which is no easy thing because Charlotte is a difficult character. But after seeing her on Unreal, I am very quickly becoming a big Charlotte fan again, which again I am such a mark. The women's championship, so we've got Tiffany versus Jade. For this one, Tiffy, I hope and pray, but Jade, I fear. I think we're getting a big Roman Reigns style push on Jade. So my heart says Tiffy, my head says Jade. We've got the tag match, Roman and Jay versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. There's going to be some shenanigans. I don't think this is going to be a straight up and down match as it is. Something's going to happen. Do we get a new member of the group out? Does Seth appear? I don't know, but something. Heavyweight Championship, Gunther versus Punk. I'm hoping and praying here for a Punk win. I really want to see him with a title. He deserves it. He's worked extremely hard. A win for Punk, I hope. We've then got this 6-tag TLC tag team match, which is going to be absolute carnage. That's the Wyatt 6 versus the Street Profits versus DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns versus Fraxium versus Andrade and Rey Fenix. For this one, I think it's going to be potentially on for match of the night. I think it's going to be brilliant and very fast-paced. And I think here we are likely to see the Wyatt 6 retain. The Intercontinental Championship, Dom versus AJ. I've got here an AJ win. No DQ match for the Intercontinental Championship. Becky retains, but I think something is brewing with Bayley. If you saw her on Raw, she looks completely down and out and defeated and wondering if she's turning back heel. So I think maybe she interferes, causes a DQ, and goes a bit mad, kicking off something proper between Becky and Bayley. The US Championship, we've got Solo versus Jacob Fatu. And for this one, I've got a Fatu win. Please, God. The Women's Championship Triple Threat, Naomi versus Io Sky versus Rhea. I've gone for a win for Rhea here, but again, that is my heart. Head says potentially Naomi retains, but I am going to stick with my convictions and say hopefully a win for Rhea. And then we've got the what should be the main event of Sunday is the WWE Championship Street Fight. Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I've got a Cena win, but a question mark over maybe Seth returning and cashing in. I still don't know whether this Seth injury angle is real or not. I think I am leaning more towards possibly now that it's not real, because it's really unusual that we haven't had any kind of updates on his injury status. I might be completely and totally wrong, but let's see how that plays out. Look, this is the first 2-night SummerSlam ever. It's going to be a massive show, and I absolutely can't wait for it. I'm really hoping that we get some returns. I know Matt's mentioned Brock Lesnar, which would be fantastic. I would love to see him back in the picture. I don't know what his current, all the legal stuff that's gone on around him. I don't know what his current situation is, obviously, but I'd like to see that. But I think they're positioning this very much as the summer WrestleMania. So this is going to be massive, guys. Don't underestimate what a big show this is going to be. So I think we're in for a treat. Anyway, let's get to it. The reason you're here, presumably, and review the SmackDown that aired on the 1st of August from Newark. And a quick pop back to our occasional item of places Amanda has been in America. I have been there, but only to the airport. But still, it counts. So Joe Tess kicks off the show tonight, pointing out that for some reason there's a steel cage hanging above the ring, which has absolutely no place being there tonight, because as far as we know, we don't have a steel cage match on the card for this evening. And then as per, we get our arrivals, and we get Jimmy. We see him arriving for his match with Tala Tonga. And then we see Aleister Black arriving for his match with Damian Priest, who is on semi-home ground, I think. He's Puerto Rican and also from New York, which is nearby Newark, so he should get a good pop later. So tonight kicks off proper with Cena making his way to the ring, and he is getting bigger cheers every time he comes out. No signs from his entrance that anything in terms of him turning face is afoot this weekend. He follows the same heel routine, and once his music is cut, you can hear very loud and clear a very split reaction from the crowd. He has the mic, but before he can get a word out, we get Cody's music hit, and out he comes again. Same thing with him from his entrance, no sign of any kind of turn this weekend. Not that that means anything. I mean, we had no clues from the original Cena heel turn, did we? So probably reading far too much into everything that's going on. Cody has mic in hand, but Cena speaks first, and he tells Cody that he told him he was exhausted and that a SummerSlam match would be too hard for him. He says he didn't listen, he assaulted him and forged his signature, forcing him into a dangerous match at one of the biggest events of the year for the most prestigious title, and he only has one thing to say to him, and that's thank you. He says that was just the boot in the arse he needed. He says for 25 years he has forged a reputation from hustle, loyalty and respect, and he says that he realises now that 5 months ago he flushed it all down the toilet chasing false glory for someone's idea of making great TV. He says once the dust settles, the people that were meant to be on his team left him. I'm guessing that is a dig at the final boss, The Rock. They left him trying to be something he's not. He says he does want to leave with the title after his last match, but it's not because he wants to ruin wrestling. He loves wrestling. He wants to take it home with him, so once he's gone, no one forgets him. He tells Cody he didn't see how stupid he looked, and he says Cody tried to tell him, and he did what a good friend should do and forced him to face it. He says this is a fight, and he needs to bring the real Cena to it as it's a war. He says today is the day that John Cena came back to the WWE and the crowd lose their absolute SH1T. He tells Cody that he doesn't know who leaves with the title on Sunday, but he knows who wins, and that's the crowd, as he is finally over his own BS and he is back. He tells Cody if he wants some to come get some. He says the only platinum rapper turning up to kick his ass is him, and he ends with the champ is here, and the crowd once again absolutely lose it. Cody chucks off his jacket, and it looks very, very briefly like that Cody's going to attack him, but he doesn't. He gets a beer, hands it to Cena, and tells him welcome back. They have a beer, and the segment ends with Cena left in the ring, soaking in the adulation of the crowd. Okay, so a really good, very strong opening to the show, and for me, totally unexpected. It seems we have the Cena face turn ahead of SummerSlam, and the crowd were absolutely eating it up. Some of the lines in Cena's promo, for example, someone's idea of good TV, well, we've seen Unreal, and we know how the heel turn was put together, or at least we know what WWE want us to think we know. Questioning now the timing of the release of Unreal and the drip of info that we have from that. Now, it's very possible that I might be overthinking it, but it does all tie together. So is that it? That's Cena's turn back to a super mega face now. I don't mind if it is. It's very early, but I guess it does give him time to repair his legacy between now and December. So I guess the only question left is, do we think we get a heel turn from Cody on Sunday? I don't think he wins the match. I see Cena hanging onto the title now until really near the end. So many questions, and as Joe Test said in comms, 15 minutes and everything is turned on its head. Brilliant, pure WWE, and I am here for it, guys. I love it. Wade trying hard on comms, to his credit, to pump the brakes on the Cena turn, but let's see. On now to the next part of the show, and we see Logan Paul with Drew crashing a training session for Jelly Roll, and they start chopsing off at each other, and then Drew appears hitting a claymore on Jelly, leaving him laying in the ring. No sign of Randy. Jelly did get a great line in on Logan Paul, calling him a Fraggle Rock reject, which is completely awesome. Now we have Giulia. Now this is the first in-ring action of the night. She's out with her new manager or business associate, Kiana James. And this is Zelina's rematch, which I had completely forgotten about. Wade is on hand quickly to point out the differences between Japan and the US, thanks Wade, including the language barrier, hence the need for Kiana James as her manager, which is a nice touch, but I thought Giulia's promos were fine, but I guess they want to, build on it and deliver a bit more, so that's what they've landed on as a solution. And Zelina is out to Tumbleweed, and considering it's pretty much her home crowd, that's a real shame for her. And this one kicks off Giulia showing her superior strength, ragdolling Zelina around the ring and going for a very early quick cover. The crowd's pretty quiet so far as Giulia gets another close cover on Zelina. We then get the obligatory Zelina comeback with double knees to the outside, but Giulia back into it pretty quickly and continues to look strong. Zelina with a messy counter to a pretty cool submission, but gets quickly smashed by Giulia for another couple of close covers. Zelina with a German suplex off the middle rope leads her to a close cover on Giulia, and finally the crowd come alive and start giving it "This is awesome" chants. Giulia hits a massive 3 moves, which finishes up with the Northern Lights bomb, and it should be over, but somehow Zelina kicks out, and then she almost nicks it with a sneaky roll-up. This one ends as Zelina hits quite a ropey-looking moonsault on Giulia. She actually hits her face and neck, but Giulia had her knees up, not making any contact with Zelina at all, but they sell that she did. She then manages to hit the Northern Lights bomb again on Zelina, getting the win and retaining. This was a decent match. I'm hopeful that Giulia can now move on to some new challenges. Interesting to see where her new manager stroke business associate will take things for her. She didn't have any involvement in tonight's match, but let's see where we go. And as for Zelina, well, back into the we don't know land. Let's see where the story takes her. Then go backstage to Kathy Kelly, who has with her Solo and MFT. Kathy asks Solo why he requested the cage to be over the ring. He denies that he asked for it, and he says that tonight Big Jim is going to get it from his 7-foot monster. Solo says tonight we'll send a message, and then he pulls out a couple of Fatu's best catchphrases. So we still don't know why or who asked for the steel cage to be hanging above the ring, which is a nice, interesting angle. Next up, we have an open challenge for the AAA tag belts. And we got, obviously, Los Garzas with Santos as part of Legado del Fantasma. Santos has the mic and tells New Jersey to stand up and show respect to Los Garzas. He says all they demand from the crowd is respect. And he says any tag teams in the back can challenge now. With that, we get out Iguana Man and Psycho Clown. Now, I've only seen these guys once at Worlds Collide, and Com selling what a huge deal Psycho Clown is in Mexico, and he kicks off against Los Garzas, doing really well, kicking absolute arse and getting a close cover. Com's pointing out that the AAA locker room are embarrassed that 2 SmackDown stars came and took their titles. Now we have the quite weird situation where the AAA team are getting more support on SmackDown than the 2 SmackDown stars. Los Garzas making a comeback, and Wade pulling out Brian Connolly's "It's a puppet" line, which is quite niche and probably only picked up by those of a certain age in the UK. I will try and post something relating to it on X later, but it's quite a famous thing from old Saturday Night TV in the UK. Mr. Iguana gets tagged in and gets a bit of a botchy start as he screws up the springboard, but ends up getting a close cover anyway. This one moves to the end when Los Garzas hit MTY on Psycho Clown and get the win. Not a great match, just an okay one. And this is one of those moments where you think, God, I hope my other half doesn't walk into the room while there's a grown, bald man painted green with a stuffed toy in his mouth on the TV. So the Scarzers retain and look good doing so. I guess we wait and see what the future holds for those guys and if they hold on to those AAA tag championships long term. And in that case, can the AAA guys come and challenge for any of our titles? Who knows? Next, we get Logan and Drew walking backstage. Kathy asks them about the attack on Jelly Roll, and they both say they've got nothing to say to Kathy and they will talk to the world later on tonight. We now get the match between Priest and Black, and this one kicks off. It's pretty even Stevens. I think this should be a decent, if not verging on awesome match. And so far, both guys demonstrating their fabulous striking abilities. Black takes charge, but Priest makes a comeback and flattens Black, dropping him right on his face. Priest goes old school and lines up for an absolutely massive clothesline, getting a close cover. Priest gets caught by a huge knee outside the ring and the fight continues, trashing the announce desk. But Black hits Priest with a chair, causing the DQ finish. Post-match, Black absolutely loses his you-know-what and has to be pulled off by the ref, but not before getting in another couple of chair shots. And we get him smashing Priest's head into the steel stairs, finishing off with a black mass. Now, this had the makings of a great match. Both guys going blow for blow on each other with brilliant skills, and I don't think we're done for these two, and that's fine with me. I'd like to see them go again. We then get Tiffy backstage. Jade tells Tiffy that she didn't need her help last week. Tiffy says that she didn't want Jade to have any excuses when she wins tomorrow night, and Jade tells Tiffy there's no distraction and she intends to finish what she started. I'm not completely sure what she did start, unless I've missed a huge chunk of story. I'm not sure. Anyway, now we've got the match between Talatonga and Big Jim. I fear for Big Jim. Talatonga is massive, and you only realise how huge he is when he stands next to Solo, who I presume is not a small man himself. Seriously, though, he does make Big Jim look small. This one kicks off. Jimmy gets mullered with a chop that looks like it could have felled a tree. Solo ringside in his normal position, chops in off to Big Jim as Talatonga continues to smash him. Finally, though, we get a bit of a rally from Jim as he flies out of the ring, hitting Talatonga, but fails to even get him off his feet. Another Big Jim flurry finally gets Talatonga down, but he catches the Uso splash and turns it into a choke slam, looking a bit Undertaker-ish, getting the win. This guy is a beast. Thank goodness it's a steel cage match tomorrow night, hopefully keeping this guy and the rest of MFT out. After the match, we get the rest of MFT summoned to the ring to continue to beat down on Jim. Solo calls for the cage to be brought down, and Jimmy is about to be locked in there with the whole of MFT. Solo is just about to spike Jimmy, and Fatu finally comes out to make the save just as the cage drops, and they are all locked in together. Solo, unfortunately, makes it to the door, and Fatu is left in there with Tamatonga and JC. Fatu nails them both, giving them both the running hip attack, and both pretty impressive looking moonsaults. The crowd are loving it. Fatu looking totally awesome ahead of the steel cage match. I wouldn't bet against Fatu for this match. I think the only question is how many pieces of Solo will be left after he's done and who will be putting them back together. Backstage again now with Kathy. She's busy tonight. She's with Flair and Bliss. She asks them if they are more than a tag team now. Charlotte said Bliss grows on her, even though she is super annoying. And Bliss says Flair has her back. Flair says, let's focus on winning the tag titles before we put a label on what we have. In the crowd, I noticed tonight there are loads of pairs of the black pom-poms, and these two are officially over. I hope they win at SummerSlam. A quick thought, perhaps this is the beginning of the end, I've said this before, of the Judgment Day. Maybe it all crumbles. Dom loses the Intercontinental Championship to AJ. Roxanne and Raquel lose their tag belts to Flair and Bliss. Do we get an appearance from an unhappy Liv who feels she's losing her man to Roxanne? I have no idea how long officially she's out for, but maybe she could show up. She doesn't have to maybe do anything physical, just a thought. I doubt she's ready for any kind of physical action, but she could have a role. Who knows? But she is one of the possible potential question mark returns for SummerSlam weekend. Last up, we have Drew and Logan, who get a typically Healy welcome to Newark. Logan starts off strong, picking on the crowd. Some poor guy in a green t-shirt telling them how dare they boo when they have two of the best wrestlers in history here in the ring. Logan says they are defending the WWE from outsiders. He says him and Drew have dedicated their entire lives to WWE, and he's sick of people using WWE as a stepping stone. He says that's impossible unless you are Logan Paul. He calls Jelly Roll an outsider and says he will learn tomorrow like he did today that he doesn't belong here. Drew says to Randy that whatever happens to Jelly Roll tomorrow is on him. Drew says that he has God on speed dial, and when he asks him for a favour, bad things happen. As Logan is continuing to chops off, we see a black SUV arriving in the background, and it's Jelly Roll, and he's got Randy with him. They head out to the ring. They both rush the ring, and there's a massive punch-up happening. The ring fills with security, and they finally separate these guys. The crowd are firmly behind Randy and Jelly Roll. Randy, for good measure, RKO's two of the security guards, and Jelly Roll chokeslams the third. So we end with Randy and Jelly Roll standing tall in the ring as we go off air. Look, this was a good show tonight. Without doubt, the biggest takeaway has got to be the Cena segment, which was first up. I'm intrigued to see if that's firstly a real heel turn. I feel like it is real. And then secondly, how that plays out at SummerSlam and further down the road to Cena's departure in December. And of course, what about Cody? Now, on reflection, I guess it's quite difficult to turn someone heel in a street fight as anything goes anyway. So I suppose if it does happen, it will be after the bell kind of affair, which suggests that Cody loses, goes off the deep end, maybe, who knows. But a good go-home show for the first two-night SummerSlam. Another great weekend of wrestling coming up. I would love to know your predictions, so reach out to me on X. Let's have a conversation about WWE or, football, the Lionesses, Spurs, Premier League season's coming up. Whatever you guys want to talk about, let's talk. But I think we are in for a great show with hopefully some surprises, and let's see how all this plays out. I can't wait. Anyway, that just about does it for this week's show. Thank you as always for having me in your ears, and remember, until next time, be kind.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.